Hi, hello, welcome to another episode of Two Facet Podcast, a podcast where we talk about building digital product. I'm Matt Mikulski, product manager, and I'm here with the co-host.
I'm Juncal Gonzalez, I'm a product designer.
Yeah, and as usual in our episodes, we gather together about topic. You may heard from our other episodes that we like to talk about lean, startup or design or other lean stuff. In this episode, we would like to talk a bit about lean experiments. So let's start with them. So as you heard in the previous episodes, hopefully, usually we start with a problem or an opportunity we want to address, right?
Exactly, that's the starting point.
Yeah, this is the starting point. Sometimes it's going to be in the form of idea. I want to build this thing, feature, software, whatever.
Yeah, or I see this problem I want to solve. Maybe there's an opportunity on solving this problem.
Yeah. And then, there is an approach of just going straight into the building, and this is what you would do in some of the cases. But in the lean world, we try to reduce waste by reducing the risk of the things we're going to build. So basically, we try to build the right things, right? And spending as little money to verify if they're right as possible. So we don't want to, invest $3 million into something that is just checking if this is good direction. So we want to do it rather cheaply and reduce this waste produced.
Exactly, because when you have this idea or this solution that you want to do, actually, even if it sounds amazing, it's full of assumptions.
Yeah.
So things that you believe that they are true and they are needed for success. So we want to see, to prove if they are true or not.
And even better, you can, if you follow Lean Startup or any other methodology, you probably at this point when you have an idea, you probably also talk with some customers. So you have some interviews and some, quantitative data, qualitative
yeah.
in this case, qualitative data. So, and this can be a trick too, because let's say you talk to the customers and they said I'm totally going to pay for this thing. And then again, you can jump to building because, hey, they said they want to build. But we know also that the people say what they would like to do, not necessarily what they do in reality. So they say about intention, not the behavior. So this all comes up to, if we have all of those assumptions, we kind of know what's the direction, but we also know what people say, maybe not necessarily what they're going to do. The next step is building experiment to check it, to validate the assumptions you have.
Exactly. So the user can take action on our assumptions instead of just giving opinions.
Exactly. And then we can see real life results of, is it a behavior we wanted to see in the market or we didn't? So this is the general idea, right? So we have an idea, we try to research it or interview or learn as much as we can, and then there is another part which is calling build. So we learn first and then we build stuff to see if we learn the right things, and then at the end we measure on if the things that we built were successful or not. And those are the experiments. So the things that we are building in these cases are the experiments of the long introduction to the topic.
Exactly. So when you decide okay, I'm going to make an experiment because I have these assumptions. So which experiment you can do, right?
Yeah.
So this is what we are trying to cover today. So which types are the most popular ones, and maybe some guidance on when to use which one.
Yeah, we may give you some practitioner insights into some of them with the most common problems also. So, shall we jump into them?
Maybe as well, maybe it's nice to mention that sometimes choosing one or the other depends on the type of assumption we have.
Yeah, there are different types of assumptions that you can have, and there is some categorization of them, no?
Yeah, so all of these assumptions is things that you believe that are true. That, for instance, one important one is I believe that the users are going to want this.
Yeah.
Right? And this is desirability kind of assumption.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Also, it's it's going to give you some profit as a business, right? I assume people are going to pay for it. So maybe they like it, but they're not going to pay for it.
Yeah.
That would be more like a viability kind of assumption. Then another one is that you are going to be able to build it, right?
There may be technical limitations or things like this. So you may assume, my most common example in this case is teleportation. I mean, It's a perfect business model for anybody. I mean, I promise if you invent teleportation, you're gonna be rich, and the next 5 generations of your family gonna be ultra rich too. So problem solved. It's everybody wants it. Everybody gonna pay for it. I promise you. Just build it, and then the problem is that's not that easy anymore.
Exactly.
Yet. Fingers crossed.
Exactly, and that would be the feasibility if that's able to be built. And another one, it's a usability one as well. So you can as well have assumptions that your product is easy to use and people will be able to use it, I don't know, based on their technology knowledge or the devices they have.
Or that your design is just amazing and it's gonna be got by the customers in the first shot, which also may not be true, right? We have enough usability experts in the market that proves us that we need to usually think about if it's true about the usability.
Exactly.
So, we have all of those types of hypotheses or different starting points for them. So different things pushing you. And let's say we want to jump into experiments. So let's build some cheap stuff to verify if our assumptions are right. Before we jump into the building itself, it's really nice to think about what should the experiment consist of. Meaning, you can imagine like a laboratory scorecard or anything you saw in your life. So it's like, is there a checklist about the experiment before you just jump into the solutions?
What do I need?
Exactly.
Am I ready?
So we listed few elements that we believe are vital for any experiment to run. So the first one, and I would say this is the most important one, is the hypothesis. And this is this assumption that we were talking about, right? So I want my customers to pay me 100 euros for my product. It's a hypothesis, like assumption, but we can turn it into the hypothesis saying like, hey, we believe that our product line X can be valued at 100 euros, and we should get at least 1,000 customers to validate if this is the right price package. And then what this hypothesis gives you is like you can later on see in like, okay, so to how many customers did I talk? What's my conversion rate to sell? Is the pricing problematic or not? Or it can be anything else. It's like the easiest scenario is we will add the button and we will have 1,000 users clicking the button in the first week of launch. Super traction related, but it's also a hypothesis. So the hypothesis basically is that the thing that we believe is true, or what behavior we want to see at the other end. So whatever experiment we run should be driving that behavior or the end goal that we want to see. What are we want to learn in it? So there is this learning part, right? So it's a hypothesis. So we say this is reality, but we need to verify this. And then in general, I would say that from any idea, you're going to have few hypotheses. So it's not that in order for a business to be successful, there is only one factor. So,
no, because there are different types, as we said before.
Exactly. And the same for product, feature is the same. You're going to probably in one solution, you have at least 2 hypotheses hidden. So it's nice to be aware about it and separate them and usually attack the more risky hypothesis first. So it's like you should be able to see things that are mission critical for you.
The ones that if fail, everything else will fail.
So if there's like some base assumption that you're basing everything on top of, this is the one you should go first for, because this is the riskiest one. It's like everything around can be nice, but if the first thing doesn't happen, anything else is not that important. So it's also important when thinking about experiments and which ones to run. It's usually better to go for the toughest one and see if you're viable. This is this thing that I mentioned at the beginning, to reduce the risk and then through that reduce the waste. So spend less time on not important things.
So maybe it's interesting here as well to try to map all the hypotheses. So maybe it's like you feel like there's only one or two on your idea. So maybe try to make the effort, maybe just by yourself or with your team, to let's try to see which other things are, and then we can pick the riskiest
exactly.
one.
And you can see this approach in different methods that we've been mentioning, like design sprints, design thinking. All of them have bits and pieces about like, okay, so let's synchronize and list assumptions that we have or things that we believe are opportunities. And then, it's a bit different naming and a bit more stricter, but this can be your hypothesis, and mapping them and trying to prioritize them, super good practice, and you should totally be doing that. Okay, so we have the hypothesis. This is the core part of the experiment, but there's a few more. So the other thing is the measurement. So what signals we will see at the other end that proves that we are right or wrong.
Exactly, to know if the experiment succeeded or failed. No?
Yeah, so we need some measurement or success metric. I would even say we need both. So we need two. So we need a success metric, but also a failure metric. So it's like in the example I was saying, I said like, and I want at least 1,000 customers. Let's say this is the amount I need to make break even and start making money. In terms of a feature, product, or anything else, it's gonna be just, you need to make this hard decision of saying how much I want. So what's enough to make a difference and for me to be sure or closer to truth about whatever was my hypothesis. So I launched something, and so this is important to not have a situation when you end the experiment, you see the result and you start thinking about what does this result mean?
Yeah, because I guess it can be tempting to, okay, let's launch the experiment and see how it goes.
Yeah,
kind of
what's
feeling,
gonna
no?
happen?
That's kind of tempting.
Yeah, but then you will have a lot of discussions about, so I have 100 customers. Is it big or small? It depends on the context, right? And then depends on what your goal is. Is it contributing enough to your goal, or maybe it's not? So you may have an idea about like how to make another growth hack in your company. So double the number of users, let's say. So you want to double the number of users, you see the potential there. Maybe you will not set the first experiment at doubling, but you should see something that's like not 1 percentage point increment, because let's be true to ourselves, that's not gonna be making a dent. Or maybe in your context it is. Maybe it's like super stable product where like 1 percentage point increase is like few million of euros monthly more. So heavily depends on the context. So you need to have, before you start the experiment, you should know how you're gonna define the success of it or failure, and then how you can learn from it. So the third part is the experiment.
The experiment, right?
Itself.
We need to.
so the body. So this can be feature and other types of experiments we're gonna mention in a minute, but this is what you're gonna ship to customers or prospects or whomever. So the more visual part of the whole experimentation. Normally there is an outcome as a part of it. I already mentioned it in the measurement. So you need to know what's the success and failure criteria, and then to be able to analyze and interpret the results according to what you've been thinking when you created a hypothesis, and not trying to justify everything. Again, with the outcome, it's important, because if you don't have it, you can justify this 100 customers and say it's allowed because it's a first launch and things. And then it's fairly easy to get into the building trap. So just keep justifying and building more on top of an idea that may not be the most impactful one right now. So
yeah. But there's this temptation as well to, if you're really like your idea because it was yours and you already spent time on making the experiment, it's like, if we could only add a few more things and do it and run it again, I'm sure this time it's going to.
And sometimes it's gonna be totally true, but it's important to see if you're like having like absolutely bad case and versus, hey, we can recover from this. So it's again, so let's say your goal was 100 and you got 20 customers. So I would say you're far away from the goal. If you don't have really good insights from the first iteration, let's stop whatever experimentation you've been doing and let's think about different ways of doing it, or setting different hypotheses. If you would be at 80 from 100, I would say, hey, maybe there's some insights we can, actually tailor a bit, and then run another iteration and then get to the goal we had. So maybe we learned something that, in this experiment, half of the things worked, but there are small details. If we change, then we can iterate and actually make a difference. Then it's different. But you see, you need to have this outcome metric. So this definition of success to have the discussion even of like, am I close to breaking into the goal? Am I breaking a goal, or am I like miserable and I should just stop doing because it's silly?
Yeah, and having this outcome will help you as well have the mindset that you're experimenting and not trying to prove that your idea is right.
Yeah, true.
So you want to discover, you want to learn. So
exactly. So not get to like super details and doing something that you can get attached to. So we know what should be there. So let's maybe talk about different types of the experiments.
Exactly, because there are types of experiments you can choose.
Or like a common ones that are usually used. I mean, and then
true, because actually you could do whatever in your sector, in your industry, whatever you can think of can be an experiment.
And some of them can be mixed or evolve, so you can do whatever. But yeah, we wanted to list you like the top few that are mostly and widely used, and usually for a lot of them you can find a lot of in-depth materials about any possible combination.
Maybe we can do another episode for one of them.
Yeah. So, but let's start. So, majority of the types we're gonna mention can be applied to existing product or basically new idea. Everything depends on what you want to test and where and how much you want to invest in it. Let's go maybe through them.
Yeah.
So, what's the first one we have?
So the first one we have here is the smoke test. And basically what the smoke test helps us is to see if there's any demand for our value proposition, right? If anyone wants what we are offering.
Yeah, and a lot of times, so if you, for example, go for a new idea, I mentioned that in one of the episodes before, it's like whenever I have an idea for a software I'm gonna build, which usually does not happen, it's like, I buy a campaign in Google to pay for some traffic. And then on the other end, I have like a static landing page trying to explain whatever idea I have for a software right now. So this gives me two things to measure. So one is how much cost will I need to have in order to generate some traffic to this web page or final product at the end. And then landing page itself shows me if the people gonna be, interested in the value proposition, as you said. So
yes.
Maybe they're gonna leave me an email, or maybe I have like a fake buy button there or anything, but I can see interaction of them with a solution I'm proposing or a value that I can deliver to them. And then my usual goal is like, if I cannot get 400 euros of possible income from it, I'm not running further with the idea. But this is my smoke test of my life. So if we would deconstruct it a bit, so the smoke test usually consists of like a landing page trying to explain the value proposition of a business, but you can apply it also to existing products. So you can have like let's say you have a new feature inside some existing feature, and when user clicks on it, she or he will see just a landing, like a small page with some explanation of the value proposition, or maybe you want to recruit people for the usability testing or some research in that place. But again, this gives you already this information about, okay, so if I have it here, this is the amount of people that possibly would go for it. And then depending on what you're going to write and what's the necessary action in your smoke test, you will see different behaviors of the people. So is it paying? Is it signing up? Is it just collaboration? Or maybe doing some actions? But this is when do you use the smoke test.
Yeah.
And super important, the user should be not aware that this product or a feature does not exist.
Should look very real.
Yeah, exactly. So it should be fooling them that once they click this button, they actually will get the product or things like this. Sometimes you're gonna say like, hey, we're just starting a landing page and you're solely testing the value proposition.
But the moment before taking the action, right? The moment before signing up to the newsletter or paying for it should feel real to the user, so we can go, like as we explained in the beginning, we can prove with behavior
and not just intention. Because I want to pay for you does not mean I will wire the money at the end.
Exactly.
So basically you use it when you want to test value proposition, or if you want to see if there's any interest or traction in the possible solution you want to build or a value you want to deliver. So let's say you have some idea, and then you can show this idea to people and measure how many people would have the problem, for example, if you have some vague explanation already.
Yeah. Then there's this other one, which is the pre-order test.
Super similar.
Yeah. This one, maybe it's more related to physical products. So maybe there's some physical product you want to start producing, and this kind of Kickstarter website you can put. So there you put the proposition of your product, and then people can pre-order. So they pay for it in advance. So this is like a very good proof that people really are interested in it. Sometimes
you're gonna go like Kickstarter, so you have an idea and explaining whole process and going totally for it. I recently bought a hoodie on pre-order also from like a person. And there the case was like, you don't know how much you're gonna need, so you may go for I will stock myself and order like 3,000 hoodies right now.
Okay, yeah.
And then the problem may be like the people gonna be buying 3 and you're out of with 997 hoodies on your stock and money is lost. So instead, the guy decided of like, hey, I have this amazing hoodie, let's just post it now, wait a month, and then let's see how many people ordered it, and then I will produce it and ship it to people that wanted it. So you can do it also with product that exists, but maybe they will require from you like actual space or anything like this. I did saw it for like subscription businesses or things like, you know, $1 Shave Club and things like this. So you can try to do it sometimes with digital products, also with pre-ordering or like a beta program or anything like this. What you get uniquely from pre-order is they will give you money.
Yes.
So this is one of the ultimate checks of like, okay, they already gave me money, I have it in bank, I can run with it, and yeah, the customers did pay me money. So
it's not only validating it, it's as well investing.
Yeah.
Like giving you the money to actually produce it if it's a physical product or develop it or yeah.
Okay, what else do we have here? Also similar to Kickstarter in some places, it's like a sales pitch plus commitment experiment. So you may not have a product yet, but you may have the value proposition.
Yes.
And let's say in your industry, it's not that easy to just attract people to landing pages through Google Ads. So maybe you are meeting with the prospects, and you should be when interviewing them. So one of the things you may do is trying to sell already not existing product. So trying to go through the sales pitch and explaining what you have, and sometimes get like initial contract, maybe a letter of intent from the customer or things like this. But anything that's closer than, hey, yeah, I like it, I would pay for it. You try to get the artifact that's like more bounding for you and your idea. So you go for a sales pitch with potential customer, and then instead of closing the deal, you would give like, okay, so we will have it in 2 months. Would you sign this agreement that once it's shipped, we're gonna go with the trial with your company or anything? And then you're, you know, if you're good with it, I would say, okay, you can feel pretty confident that you have addressable market on the other end.
Yeah, and I guess this is more for like very risky industries or more like
enterprise ones.
Okay.
I mean, you know, you can use it to any, but this is heavy on real human time. I mean, you need to usually meet with that person, talk through it, and then close the deal. And maybe it's not the most amazing use of your time. Maybe for some, you know, business to customer products, I wouldn't say this is the most optimal way to gather these informations, right? When you're thinking in enterprise or some kinds of the B2B, I guess this is the only thing you can do sometimes. It's like, if I would like to collaborate with the bank,
the bank is not going to click on a landing page.
So big chance that if I need to check it, I need to somehow get into there and then talk with some stakeholders, and probably if I'm super successful, I could get some initial agreement or not. But I would say this is like not that cheap one. Sitting and looking from like product person perspective, it's like you need to be good at sales, and you really need to know this is the only way I can get to the customer. And this kind of also will show you that, okay, you can do online sales pitch, right? So, but I am assuming this is the one in face-to-face. But if you're forced with like, okay, this is the only way I can reach the customers and sell, this also tells you that, okay, I will be having like sales-heavy organization or enterprise organization where closing a deal gonna be a longer process, and I need to prepare for it. So you also are aware about it,
and you will be learning as well.
You will be learning also a lot.
So another one we have as well, similar to the first one, the smoke test, is the fake functionality. So it's similar, but the difference is that this is much more specific. So maybe you're inside the product and you want to add another feature and another functionality. You make it, but it's fake. It doesn't work.
And it's usually like you get, as you said, so you have a screen that exists, and let's say you got a feedback that you need one button more, like a filtering option. So if you want to check if it's really needed, because you know a lot of times these kinds of feedbacks are but we got it from 3 customers, and do we have it from more? And then temptation may be, let's talk to the customers now and do big study about if we need one button.
True.
But this is expensive, no? You need to have researchers, recruit people, do interviews, then synthesize this data, sync with the team. It's super expensive process to do it, and you heard about it from 3 customers, let's say, and you're hyped about it. So usually it's gonna be cheaper to put like a fake button that when you click nothing happens, but you can measure the interaction. So you will see that, oh, now once I have it, I see 80% of my customers are clicking like crazy in this button. Okay, then let's go for it. The solution can be different, meaning sometimes you're just gonna do nothing. Sometimes you may just show to the user, hey, you're pranked. Do you want to sign up for testing this feature? This is also a nice idea sometimes for recruitment. It's like you actually get people that wanted to interact with the part of the product.
Yeah. I guess you need to be careful with this one, especially if it's like a product the user uses every day. Yeah. So imagine you should not add like a lot of them, like just adding, be careful because...
super valid for SaaS. So it's like, I would say if you are having a marketplace type product or something that has like high traffic of not necessarily people coming every day back, this is nice thing because you're gonna have a bit different population every time that they're gonna be exposed. So smaller chances you're gonna hit the same person 3 times trying to click on this button, or in 3 different experiments, and then nothing works in this site, everything is being tested. When you're thinking SaaS softwares that are usually used much more often during the week, then imagine how would you feel when you click in Gmail every time you click some new button and they say
and nothing works. It's like I cannot finish and I wanted to do this and you don't allow me to. So yes.
So it's super important to target the audience. Usually it's good idea to release this only to some percentage of the customers. So you don't show it to all of the customers. You can sample the data and see if from smaller sample of the customers it's enough for you to, if you scale and have the feature, it's gonna be fine and good.
And maybe define the amount of time you're going to have it active as well.
Also just not to keep pissing more people. So maybe but this is the part of the measurement. So let's say you want to run it, and then you would say that let's say you want this functionality because you want to recruit users that would be interested in it. So then how many users you have or want. Or unless you say unlimited, more is better. But then again, you're not having a success and failure metric. You're just wishful. So it's like, give me everybody. So then you don't need to run fake functionality. Just run it to everybody and just build it. So it's a different thing. So yeah.
And then another one we have is the Wizard of Oz. And this one, it's as well in a way it's a fake functionality. So this one is useful when you need a very heavy technology behind a feature you want to release, right? And it's going to be very expensive and time consuming to build it. So what you do is that you should build it in a way that the user thinks is totally real, but on the other hand, it's manual work.
So it can be an Excel and 3 automations running on if this then that, and that's can be a business. An example can be early days of Doc Planner. When we initially posted the calendars were posted on the webpage, so doctors and patients thought, okay, I can book online. But actually what was happening, like when the patient was booking the visit, Piotr Ziewiec, our current one of the managers and the secretary at the time in the office, they were receiving an email that visit is booked, and they were calling a doctor clinic saying, hey, I'm calling from Doc Planner, you're gonna have a patient on Tuesday at this hour. So, we've been testing how many people can we generate, how many of those visits gonna be there, what's gonna happen when we contact doctors saying like, hey, I have 10 patients for you for those days, like what's gonna be the reaction. And the whole system was basically an email sent to a manager and a secretary, and they were calling people and doctors trying to schedule calendar online management software, which we now have as a software, and it's very complicated. But it's totally started from few calendars and 2 people calling doctors. Absolutely not efficient, not scalable. Super not. But then the moment you see there is demand for it, then you can start thinking of making it. And at that time it would mean like if those 2 people would die, we are super successful, we need to hire, that's amazing. It's basically, yes, it's amazing to be in this problem. This is a good problem to have. Let's keep pushing for this problem. So another classic example of this type of experiment would be if you want to do a product of artificial intelligence kind of it, and then so the user is asking questions to a system or finding stuff, pretending it's smart, but it's only another person on the other side faking it. So this is how you do the Wizard of Oz. So You do pretty fast and user thinks like there is technology, but you're actually using manual work and automations instead of building the technology. Because, well, maybe on some smaller scale you can generate the same value that the amazing technology will generate when you scale up. But initially you don't want to, spend a year and millions of dollars building something that will just not make a trick for customers. And it can be run on Excel. And really, believe me, incredible things can be run on Excel only. Excel is super powerful thing.
Yeah.
Okay, then the next type, or I would say it's a type and meta type at the same time, because everything can be it, is the MVP, so minimal viable product. So this should be an actual feature that works.
Yes.
But the smallest one that delivers the value to the customer.
Exactly. So once you have the idea for the feature, it's like, what can I remove from it until I just have the minimum?
Yeah, to reduce the risk and the waste. So it's like, any feature in software, you can imagine a backlog for a year probably. So it's like all of the details, and then I can do this automation, and then when you click here, something happens. All of this is nice once you know this is the thing you want to build. But before there, usually having like 3 buttons, 5 inputs, it's enough for you to validate if this is the right direction. So the thinking here is like, we launch this feature and then the next day we should start hearing about the next features that we believe they're there, but this already means people are finding so much value in this minimal feature that we built
that they are asking for more.
Yeah. Exactly, at this stage. And this is clear signal for us, okay, we should start investing more or not, because maybe you have 3 users and your goal was to have 100 of them and you have 3 active users and you built a niche, and it's like, so in general, you look at what pain points you could build and then find the one that you want to deliver ASAP as the first one to someone. And then while shaping it or slicing or thinking about this feature, remove any feature, process or effort that does not directly contribute to this value that you wanted to deliver. So you can have a research that you see around one topic, you have 5 different pain points. You can try to size them and say, hey, this seems like the heaviest one, the more severe, or maybe 1.5 you're gonna pick. And you can form the hypothesis from it. So then if you see all of the features, it's like, is it a clue of showing us if this is true, or it's not the clue of it? And then you remove feature by feature, process by process, actor by actor to the minimal thing that covers all of the checkboxes for your given hypothesis.
And the good thing about this experiment is that at the same time you are delivering value already, even if it's small compared to the other ones. And also this thing that you mentioned, that the moment you launch it, then you already have the feedback to continue. That's a very good point, because we sometimes forget there's multiple MVPs. So it's not like I launch the MVP and that's it. So it's like I launch it to learn, and then I will do another MVP and then another MVP until... Yeah,
or iterations around it. Or you may have like, sometimes for one idea you can have different solutions. So you may have like two solutions trying to solve the same hypothesis, and you can run different MVPs also concurrent. And it's not said that you need to run one at the same time for a given hypothesis.
Okay.
Maybe you already have customers, but at the same time you believe like, I'm gonna also upsell this feature. So you may want to build like a smoke test for the new customers, and for the existing ones maybe you have a fake feature, maybe you're shipping MVP already.
True, because the solution can be super big, can have a lot of components in it and a lot of hypotheses. You can test them at the same time.
I would say at the end it depends on like how many, that's said, but resources you have. So do you want to run like multiple experiments, or you want to focus on one, or are you looking only on part of a domain? Like, depends heavily on the context you're like, how much time you may invest. So how much you want is a different question, but how much you may is so what's your bank of time that you can spend there.
True.
Yeah. So, and then the last that we prepared for today, and I guess this can be known the most widely, is the A/B testing.
The A/B testing, yeah.
So the practice that shows you which solution is better, usually.
Well, it's like you offer 2 options to the customer, not 2 at the same time, right? But the idea is that you are offering different solutions, and then you will see which one has more results.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Or it can be even multiple solutions if you have.
So it can be ABC testing, ABCD.
ABX. Yeah. So you can have multiple variants of a solution, and you're working between those variants. So let's say you always have the base one. So it won't work for non-existing products.
True.
You can A/B test like 2 different landing pages for a smoke test.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's a bit weird, but you can do it. I mean, validate how good was one versus another. I can imagine scenarios where it could be useful. But usually you're gonna use like existing products. So let's say we have a marketplace profile for doctors and for patients to book a visit to the doctors, and you can have a calendar there, right? So we can imagine we could have 3 different visual versions of this calendar. Or when you click on a calendar, you're gonna have a booking flow, right? So as in any booking site, you're gonna need to add some contact details, select the slot, and probably give some additional information. And at some moment, the platform gonna try to convert you into the user, so register. So you can have different orders of this booking flow, for example, because the hypothesis is like, I'm trying to make the conversion higher. So inventing, you may have one version that's your current one. This is the version A, in which you ask user first to register and then make the booking to your hotel, doctor, whatever. And you may have another flow saying, hey, let's reverse it. You make a booking, and then in order to do anything with it, we push you to register an account. And then what you do is you run both versions. You try to split equally between the variants the users you have. So if you have 2 versions, 50-50 randomly. If you have 3, you're splitting into 3, and then more you have people, you split equally the traffic going there. And you try to observe a metric that you're measuring. So in the given example, we would be looking at the conversion rate of the full funnel. So we would be comparing how many people finished this one versus that one. And probably our hypothesis would be around this registration screen, because let's say this is the most friction generating element in a flow. So there's plenty of tools online to do it. So please don't try to reverse engineer. That will help you with
the numbers, know the percentage and
exactly,
which one.
And measure how does it compare to each other. So you just run it usually in a tool. What's important there is, when looking at A/B testing, hopefully you're gonna have product analytics person or someone with statistical background. But the thing is, if the difference in an A/B test is small between the variants, you need like really big sample of people, of a population, to say it's statistically significant and that the result is true. Actually, the version B is better, and it's not just randomness of people behavior. If the difference is much bigger between the versions, you need smaller sample. I will not get into the details of how do you do statistical significance. I'm not the best math guy here. But then in majority of the tools, you're going to have the statistical significance as measurement, usually with the definition of how the given tool measures that. So Google may be measuring that a bit slightly different than someone else in the market, but you will see it in the tool. And it's super important to keep looking at it, to not throw. So I saw a million times in my life, someone launches the A/B test, they have first 10 users, and they say like, hey, already the VIP version is twice as converting.
And it's only like a 1% difference,
exactly.
so it doesn't show anything.
Yeah.
It should be like from 10 users, 8 goes for one, or 9 go for one, and then it's like very clear.
Yeah. And then A/B tests should not be in a size of 10 or 20. So usually we are thinking here they're hundreds or thousands or millions of users, depending on like how big of a change you can measure. So with an example of pretty legendary A/B testing from Google, they were testing like 15 or 16 different shades of blue of links, right? And they needed few years and millions or billions of users to go through to actually see that there's not big difference between any of them. And they picked one of them. There wasn't any statistical real significance between this shades. So this just shows that not everything should be A/B tested. Sometimes you should check 3 times if you have enough possible data sources or data points to actually conduct one.
And then another one with A/B testing that maybe it's important is the number of things that you change. So you should be careful, right?
Yeah.
If you're testing the value proposition, only change that and not the design. Yeah. If you're testing the flow, maybe just change the flow but not the colors. So you're sure that...
Or maybe, just change the order but not add or remove steps here and things like this. So it should be small change or incremental change from it, not complete change, because then you're going to have much more hypothesis basically. So it's like, if this is about changing the order of the steps, you have one hypothesis. If it's about changing the order of the steps and changing the copy and the design, I just said and 3 times. Right?
Yes. So then you don't know which one is the one that makes the change.
Exactly. So you want to have clear idea about what's making the change and measure this thing that you believe that's gonna make change.
Yeah. Nice.
And this is it. I would say this is like a roundup of the most common lean experiments you may see in the product. As we said at the beginning, you can mix match them, invent your own, and probably there's more. But we hope this helped you a bit, and next time you're gonna need to experiment. It's gonna be easier to pick from. We're gonna link to probably some. We will list them probably somewhere in the description also. And I guess this is all for today's episode.
This is it, I liked it, and so share it with someone. I don't know, leave a comment.
Share it. Please remember to subscribe. We know that a lot of our reviews are not our subscribers yet, so please subscribe. That really makes us happier. If you find it interesting and you want to continue, please leave the comment. You can also write to us on Twitter at 2facet. You can write an email to us at 2facetpodcast@gmail.com. And if you're listening on Spotify or any other podcast, you can subscribe to us going to anchor.fm/2facet. And then you will find our webpage where you can sign up for anything that we have. So thank you very much. I hope it was useful for you, and see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.